So, believe it or not, everyone's got both types of these types of reasonings. Whether you believe it or not, some people you can think that they have no common sense. They have it. It just hasn't been nurtured enough to be their dominant type of reasoning. So, every single day you make thousands of decisions quickly and without even knowing it, subconsciously sometimes, because of these two types. So let's just talk about the definitions. Let's talk about deductive. What do you remember from yesterday? What was that definition, please?
It's like the book smarts or everything. It's
Okay, I agree. Book smarts. What else?
It's memory. I know that.
Yeah, that was the best way to put it. It's just memory. Can you memorize something? Do you have it? Recall knowledge, right? In school they call it prior knowledge, right? Do you have some type of prior knowledge of this event before? What can you remember about it, and then what can you recall? What were the outcomes, right? That happens every day. You know situations, you're driving here to school, people pull out in front of you. What did you do last time? You braked, you slowed down, you were prepared because you kind of watched, you looked ahead on the road. You have things that you do instinctively because it was repetition. You've done it before, so it just becomes kind of just second nature to you. But because you have the prior knowledge, people that have went into driver's ed that have never driven before, they have no prior knowledge to fall back on. They have no deductive skills. Sure, they might see their parents drive, but it's very different than watching and handling the vehicle yourself. You have to get used to the pedals and how hard you need to press and how smooth it needs to be, and just the overall, the way the vehicle carries itself. That's why driver's ed is a perfect idea of deductive reasoning. You have nothing to fall back on. The people that do really well in driver's ed are typically farm kids because they've been driving since they're 8. They drive tractors and they drive go-karts and whatever else they have on their farm. The kids that struggle are usually typically city kids. They just never had a chance to drive like that out in the country. It's not legal, but I remember driving when I was 8. I drove a tractor and a truck around. But it's one of those things, the people that are successful because they have something to fall back on. They know what to do. Now, inductive, what can you tell me? Thank you for that. Somebody else now. What do you remember about inductive reasoning? Please.
Adapting.
Yeah. If you can adapt really well to a new situation, something you've never seen before, right? You just kind of wing it, right? You improv the whole time. It's this idea of being street smart. People that are really good at acting and improv and they can recognize and observe really well. They have a greater sense of empathy. They can get a sense for people's reactions. They can read body language really well. They're really strong in inductive reasoning because they don't need to see a situation prior. They don't need to have that prior knowledge. They'll just wing it and just kind of go with, and they'll try to mix in things that they know and just experiment, right? It's almost like a trial and error. They'll just try it, see if it works, fine and dandy. And this is the part where if you have really strong sense of inductive reasoning, it can get you past that hump if you have a really strong sense of anxiety, right? Some people do. It's a normal thing. Everyone has it. But inductive, you can get past it because you can adapt to a new situation really quickly. It's almost like an introvert versus an extrovert, right? It's how you describe somebody. It's not fair because everyone has both, right? You can be that person that wants to stay home and watch a movie, but you can also be that person that wants to go hang out with some friends every now and then. So, is somebody knocking on the door out there?
Sounded like it.
Yeah, that's what. All right, but just like with introvert and extrovert, everyone's got both. Everyone's got both of these. It's just how well you use it, right? So, deductive is prior knowledge. If I gave you an algebra problem, most people would attempt to do it because they've seen it before. They would feel comfortable, and you kind of go from there. But inductive, you've never seen the problem before. Hopefully, you've never seen the problem before, and you try to wing it. So that's what we're going to do these next couple days. I'm going to try to give you very, very different styles of problems, and I'm going to see how well you do. Today is kind of a number theory day. So that's what I'm going to call it. We're going to do a number theory kind of a day where I'm going to give you a task that you have to complete that I don't know if you've ever seen before. So definitely not from me. So in my world, you would have to rely on just pure inductive, but maybe some of you have some experience. So some of your group members might have deductive skills they can fall back on. So that's what I want to test. This isn't like homework or anything like that. It's just I want to see how you can do it. Okay, and then we're gonna try it together. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna kind of group you up in the little like pairs that you're in. You can go with the people next to you. You don't need to move your desks around. So it can be like groups of 4 or 3 or 2. Just make sure everyone's included. Don't forget anyone. I want to get input from everybody. And again, it's not homework. It's just kind of a trial, right? So that's what I want to give you. So are you in your little pods? You kind of look around, talk to each other for a little bit, take 2 minutes, and then figure out what your little group is. And then I'm going to give you a little activity I'd like you to try here in a second. Okay? All right. These out. All right, you can put your name on this. Put your name on
It's the first time in like 8 days that I brought a pencil, man.
it. Good work. Okay, you can put your name on it. You can put your period on it. It's kind of a little different situation. I'm going to give you a task you hopefully not seen before. Okay, all right. Everyone's got a little piece of paper in front of them. Put your name on it. Okay, so here's what I'd like you to do. In your little group, you can have open discussions here in a second. I'm going to give you a task. Here's what I'd like you to do. I want you to put this on your paper. Call it example number 1. Okay, we're going to do a few of these. The goal is to do maybe 3, 4 of these today. List of numbers. This is called a roster method. I'm giving you a list of numbers separated by commas. Right? It's also known as a sequence. I'd like you to do in your little group. Let's figure out the next 3 numbers. Next 3. I don't know if you've ever seen these before. Try it out. Let's see what you have. Because everyone's going to have a different strategy. So try to find the next 3. Have some open discussion. I'll turn off the camera. You want it? Doesn't matter. Try to find the next 3 numbers. They're called terms, the next 3 terms. anyone need one more time? So, I'm gonna pose the question to you guys. What's the next 3? Can somebody give me the next one? Just give me the next one.
12.
12, okay? Somebody else, please.
5.
5, okay.
13.
13, okay. I agree. Now, honest raise your hand. How many people didn't get that? You can be honest, I didn't get that. I didn't even know what to do. Anyone else? Oh, interesting. Okay, so now, here's my question. For those answer, or people that didn't answer, what was your strategy? Because I bet it's different every single time. Okay, so how do you do it?
Well, I saw it was 8 and 10, so it was plus 2, and then it was minus 3, and then it was plus 4, and then minus 5, and then plus 6, and minus 7, and then plus 8.
Okay. How many people did it that way? Interesting. Okay, interesting. The weird thing is, I didn't do it that way at all. That's interesting. I didn't even see that. How do you do it?
8 goes down to 7, 7 goes down to 6, 10 goes down to 11. Oh, sorry, 10 goes up to 11, 11 goes up to 12, 6 goes down to 5, 12 goes up to 13.
That's how I did it. Now, don't get me wrong, both strategies are fine, right? The way I did it was very visual. I did it because I saw the numbers like ping pong every other, right? That's just how I saw it. Doing it with the numbers, the values, right? This gap idea, this is called a common difference. You're looking at the difference between the next 2 numbers, right? The next number, the next number. That strategy is very different, right? That's very analytical, not very visual. So it shows like a personality trait by which one you pick, which is kind of interesting when you start to look at the psychology of it. Now, don't get me wrong, you could have done it a ton of different ways, but those are the next 3 that I was looking for. They're called terms. Now, how many people have seen sequences like this before? Okay, a few? Okay, all right, that's good. Some people haven't. They just never experienced that before. It's very different. It takes a certain type of math set skills to actually do that. Now, this one, I didn't try to pick a difficult one. I didn't. I just picked one, right? So, let me give you another one now. Now that you have, so before, some of you, about 4 of you, had some deductive reasoning to fall back on. You've seen something like that before. A lot of you are straight inductive. You're trying to prime out for the first time. But now that you've seen one, now you can fall back to deductive. So now inductive is almost out of the question. So now it's just straight deductive. Okay? So, next example. So this is example number 2. On the next 3. The next 3 numbers. idea, number.
Before, I was
Okay.
at 4.
Anyone else have anything different?
Negative.
Okay, interesting. Anyone else have anything different? Okay. Okay, for the people that maybe had 4, because there might be a couple in here, what was the next number you had? Negative 8, okay. Is that right, for the people that had 4? What was the next number after that you had?
12.
Positive 12, okay. Okay, what about the people that had negative 4? We had at least one.
8, negative 12.
Okay. Here's the worst part about this. They could both be right. On a sequence, you need to have a select few numbers to be given to you. Sometimes 4 numbers is not enough. I'm not saying that either one of those are wrong or right. Because you need, if you notice on the first one I gave you 5. Very easy to tell what the next number is going to be. But when I only give you 4, it's infinitely harder. Because you have to establish that pattern. I can definitely see it both ways. That it looks like it's just oscillating by 4s, right? And it looks like it's going, like negative, positive, negative, positive, negative, positive. I can see that. So I could definitely see this next strategy. Or I could definitely see that, you're going up by a certain number and down by a certain number and up by a certain number. So I could definitely see both sets. I'm not saying either one's wrong. That's the frustrating part about sequences. Sometimes there could be a different answer because it depends on how many numbers I provide you in the beginning of it. So I want you to see that. That's a crucial thing when you do sequences. You have to have 5 numbers typically or more. Okay. Now I'm not saying either one's right or wrong. So, all right. Are you ready for a real one now? Okay, one that you can actually finish. Okay. Okay, here we go. A real one that you can actually do. So this should be your third example. Third one. Okay, do we need more time? So, what's the next number? What do you think?
7.
Okay, I'm gonna disagree.
6.
Eh.
8.
8. Hmm. 12? No,
13.
13. Hmm. Okay,
21.
21. Stop there. Now, I'll let you kind of figure that out just for a second. Very different type of sequence. Very different type of sequence. So, I think I've already heard it. So Cody, what did you just say?
It's going up the amount of the number right before it.
Yes. It's called the Fibonacci sequence. It's one of the most famous sequences in the world that goes up, so the number that was in front of this one was 0, so this one goes up by 0. Then you go up by whatever number's in front of it. So this one, the number in front of it's 1, so I go by 1. The number in front is a 1, so I go by 1. The number in front is a 2, so I go by 2. The number in front is a 3, so I go by 3. Then you go up by 5. Then you go by 8. Then you go by 13. So the next number would be 34. It's one of those sequences that you can definitely see it other ways, right? Because you're like, oh man, it's adding 0, it's adding 1, it's adding 2, it's adding 3, it's adding 4. Like I could definitely see that you could see that pattern, but that wasn't the pattern I created. So now you're thinking, well, Ward, did you give me enough numbers? Because you say it needs 5. Yeah, it does. But now you're starting to see that all the rules kind of go out the window sometimes on sequences. Because I could definitely see if you went up by this idea of like adding 0, adding 1, adding 2, adding 3, adding 4, you get 9, right? I think some people said 9. And then adding a 5 next, right? And so I could definitely see it. But even though this is a definite sequence, and I gave you 5 numbers because you needed 5 numbers to establish the pattern, it's one of those things that it's kind of tough. But what threw it off, what throws it off, what breaks that pattern was this right here.
Not having the 0 in front of it.
Yeah, not having the 0 in front. And this is also what threw it off. Right there. That second gap. What that idea that you guys did earlier, like that common difference, that analytical way of seeing the gap, that, if it went up by 0, went up by 1, and went up by 2, that number would have been different. It didn't do that. And that's what throws it off. That's why on this particular sequence, this was the answer. So by doing analytically that way, that was the way to solve it. Did I tell you that? No. It's like you have to almost spot it. You have to like take everything you can possibly do and adapt to a new problem. Okay, let's do one more. This is our last one. This one is a sequence, has one specific answer like this one. That was one specific answer I was looking for. Okay, all right, here we go. All right, ready? The next 3 numbers, you might want a calculator for this one. You need to go borrow one, I got some for next week. So the last one today. Maybe another 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Is this one posing more of a challenge?
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit? Good. Because now you can't fall back to deductive reasoning. Got about 45 seconds here. Okay. Anyone happen to know what the next number is we want to take a stab?
216.
It is. Is that what you're going to say?
No.
Oh, it is 216. Okay. I'll let that soak in just for a second. Recalibrate a little bit. Gotta figure out what's going on there. Next number?
343.
It is. Okay, last one?
512.
512. Okay, pretty good. Now, what makes this one so difficult? What makes this problem very, very difficult compared to the others? I've kind of set you up a little bit, sorry. I've been giving you types of sequences that the common difference, that gap, is always, increasing. Or there's a visual pattern to it, right? It's going up by 2, down by 3, up by 4. This one's going, it's jumping by 4s, but it's flipping evens for negative signs and whatnot, if that's the way you did it. And then this one is going up by the previous number. This one, the numbers are totally self-independent of each other. It didn't require the last one to figure out the next one at all. So, for the two that figured it out, what was your strategy?
Well, I just found the gap in between.
Okay.
So it was plus 19.
Okay.
Oh, from 8 to
Yeah.
27, sorry.
Yep.
And then plus 37, and then plus 61. And then I found kind of like the gap in between each one, and then
So,
it went
yeah.
up every time by 6.
Yeah, you went
So,
the gaps
yeah.
between the gaps.
Yes.
Yeah, the gaps between gaps, that's one strategy. Looking at the common difference, then look at the common difference between that. Interesting. That's not how I created it. Interesting, though. It worked. That would have worked for that one too. You can do a certain type. I didn't create it that way. Yeah. It would work, you just had to go far enough. Okay, you wanna hear the easy way that I did it?
Mm-hmm.
Because I created it on the fly. I multiplied 3 numbers in my head. 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 4, 4, 4, 5, 5, 5, 6, 7, 8. Works. It's totally self-independent of the previous number in front of it. It didn't require it. That's what makes this a tough sequence. Okay, so you've seen every type of sequence. It is a list of numbers in a particular order. Tomorrow, we're going to try something different again to see how well you do. So each day we're going to try a different strategy to see what type of reasoning you have. Pretty good. You guys got very good there for a while. The last one trips you up because I kind of set you up that way. Don't spoil it for the rest of the classes coming in. I want to see how they do today. So they're going to get very similar problems. I'll create different ones. We'll talk about Fibonacci later. That'll be one of our topics we'll bring up.
Makes a lot of sense.
I want those. So you can leave them on your desk. I don't have a class coming in. So you just leave them there. We'll keep reading.
The Fibonacci one makes a lot of sense with the zeros in front of it.
Yeah, and there's a 0, yeah. I didn't put the 0.
Yeah.
Do you want these papers back?
Yeah, just put them on your desk. I'll walk around on the left. There's no class coming in after you guys. So.
6.
Tomorrow is going to be very, very different. Tomorrow, I think you're going to have some fun with tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be very, very different.